So we receive Arsenal news that no fan wanted to hear. We've had an Arsenal player go for surgery. We're going to speak about the estimated amount of time that this guy is projected to be out. We're going to speak about maybe different scenarios or personnel we can use in his position just to try and minimise the disruption that not having this player will inevitably have on this Arsenal team. We're also going to be speaking about a target that Arsenal could potentially be bringing in. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that as well. But first of all, we're going to start with the big news, and that is, of course, Big Benny Blanco has gone for surgery, and it's predicted that he might be out for about 6 to 8 weeks. I just want to get your guys' thoughts on who you play in that position instead of Ben White. I think there's a couple of different scenarios that could play out. I think you've got Timber. I think you've got Thomas Partey and suggestions maybe of someone using Myles, Skelly in that position as well. So I just want to start this video by asking, who do you play at right back now that we know we've got no Big Benny Blanks? Let me know in the comment section. So my initial thought on this news is, look, you never want your best players to be out with injury, but I think it's fair to say that Ben White is probably, you're looking at some of his recent performances, and although in the past couple of games it seems like they're raising, like he doesn't quite seem himself, does he? Like for the past, 3 seasons, Ben White has been one of Arsenal's most consistent performers in that defensive line. Like, if you're picking a starting 11, Ben White is no doubt in everyone's selection. He's been so consistent, but there's been a few performances within the past couple of months or maybe even slightly further going back than that you look at and you say, is Ben White carrying something? And now we know that is definitely true. He was carrying something and he was kind of forced back because we're lacking in options in some of those positions. So the initial news is like, yes, I'm disappointed, but at the same time, if this is something he needs, because what's being released from Arsenal is Ben White's been playing only with about 80% fitness due to this injury. Like it's an injury that's been giving him some pain for quite some time. So he's been playing through the pain barrier. So I guess that kind of does show that these Ben White performances, maybe when people are looking at it and saying something's not quite right with Ben White, maybe now that opinion is justified because we know Ben White is injured. So it's good if we can get Ben White back to the Ben White that we saw last season, the season before, who was just always one of our best defenders. And that does now leave us with a couple of questions of, who do you play in this position? I think it's only out of 2 players, to be honest. And that's why I want to hear people's opinions on it, because people will always have a difference of opinion. Thomas Partey or jurrien Timber. Those are the only 2 that I'm looking at and saying this is a viable option. I'll start with Thomas Partey because we know he can play that position. He's been asked to play it a couple of times more recently as well, and we've seen that he can put in some good performances. The only thing with that is, like, Thomas Partey is probably, well, in my opinion, he has been Arsenal's best centre mid this season. Like, he's been our best central midfielder. So because he can play right back, you then don't want to lose what he offers in centre midfield just because you know he can play that position. Like, that's the easiest way that I look at it and say, do I think he could be a good player at right back? Yes. But you're also losing your best central midfielder. So to me, I'm just looking like, no, I don't do that. I think you have to keep Thomas Partey in the middle of the park. We know he's been kept back or he didn't get selected for this international duty. So Thomas Partey shouldn't be carrying any injuries. We know it's an injury-prone player, but Thomas Partey looks fit, up to speed. And like I said, he's playing at a high level. So I wouldn't remove Thomas Partey from that midfield because I think that's a position we need to look at. We need to keep that midfield as strong as we can because we do have, and I'm not trying to call him out, players like Declan Rice who maybe aren't performing at the level that they reached last season. So yeah, for me, you don't play him at right back. For me, this is the perfect opportunity to see what jurrien Timber is about. Like, jurrien Timber, if he's asked where he wants to play, he would probably say centre back or right back because it's the position that's most natural to him. So yeah, for me, I definitely go jurrien Timber. Give him a run of games. Give him this 6 or 8 week period to show what he can do at right back. And if when Ben White does come back from injury and Timber's performing at such a level, it will become good. It's good to have that competition for places in a squad. Like, you always want someone challenging the starter for a Premier League chasing team. Absolutely, because then it creates an environment of competition. You always have to be at your best, and that's exactly the way it could plan out. Ben White could come back and he might not get back into the team straight away. It seems crazy to imagine that because of how good Ben White is. But for me, I would like to see Jurrien Timber given a run of games in this team. He can play left back, he can play centre back, both of which he has played well at times. But then also you're looking at it and saying, is this maybe the highest level that Jurrien Timber can perform at? Maybe not. And maybe playing at right back, a position that might be more natural to him, gives him the opportunity to show what he can offer this Arsenal team. So that's the guy that I look at and say that's the guy who I would want to play there. There's another suggestion as well of Tomiyasu coming back after the international break. There's two pieces of good news, actually. We got Calafiori and Tomiyasu both said to be available at about the same time. Tomiyasu, you always have to be more cautious of when you hear news of him being back, because this is a player who's so injury prone. I'm sure you guys, like I do, love Tomiyasu. When he gets a run of games in the team, it's almost like he is part of the best Arsenal defence. Like, if I'm thinking of the best Arsenal defence that we had last season, it probably would have been when Tomiyasu was left back. You had Gabriel and Saliba and Ben White. It's just a shame that we haven't been able to see Tomiyasu in a consistent basis, because it's like he doesn't play for so long. It's almost like even the Arsenal fans forget how good and how important this player is. Tomiyasu is so good. Does he make mistakes? Yeah, every player does. But he is so solid at the back. And I think his attributes definitely suit what this Arsenal back line tries to achieve. Be solid, be compact, at times play high, because he has the pace, the athleticism, the strength, he's technical, good playing the ball. He can cut lines at times with some of his passes. So I'm excited to see Tomiyasu back. And we've got Calafiori coming back as well. So that just adds to what you want to do in this back line. I would like to see Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. Now, I do think you have to be careful when you play Calafiori and Timber together, because if you're looking at the way those two guys play, I think at times they can both be very adventurous, I call it. Like, they do like getting forward. We see Calafiori at times taking up positions in those forward areas where you're thinking, is this guy a centre-back or a fully fledged number 10? Like, he is on the edge of the box taking shots. Like, last time Calafiori played, he had a shot from the penalty spot. So this is a player who likes to push forward. Jurrien Timber as well, we've seen him go on those dynamic cutting runs that he likes to make. So you just can't have both of them going at the same time. That's the only thing I would look at and say, I'm sure Mikel Arteta would have said to them, if one of you goes, then the other one needs to hang back, because I always like having that free at the base and then letting the others drop into the midfield area. So I would like to see that back line. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Tomiyasu thrown in there as well, because like I said, this probably will be Tomiyasu's last chance. If I'm looking at the player who, if he never had injuries, then he would definitely be good enough to play a role, not necessarily in the starting 11, but in this Arsenal squad. But you need to have players available, and the availability of Tomiyasu is not good. Like how we said probably with Thomas Partey, if he gets injured this season, this might be his last season. It's probably a similar kind of scenario with Tomiyasu, where it's like, you're so, like, you can be a good player, but you just need to stop getting injured so much. So it'll be interesting to see how Tomiyasu looks when he gets back from injury. If he does pick up another one, I would almost guarantee that this would be the last season that he plays at Arsenal. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that back line shakes up. Next, I just wanted to have a quick word on this sporting director situation at Arsenal. I don't expect a move to be made like now. Like all the things I'm hearing when it comes to Arsenal and this new sporting director is Arsenal aren't in a rush. Like, we're not stressing to bring someone in. If it happens in the summer, then it happens at the summer. They are far more focused on who the character is. Like, they're not just going to get someone for the sake of it. We've heard the Real Sociedad sporting director, so highly regarded. He's been linked with Real Madrid a number of times. I think he might have even turned them down on one occasion. We know he's said that he's leaving Real Sociedad at the end of the season. So that is the guy that's kind of being floated around. I think my pronunciation wouldn't be great. It's Alabe or Alabe. So that might be interesting to keep an eye on that, to see if that is someone that Arsenal go for. You've obviously got the Spanish links there. I'm sure the clubs have a good relationship due to the Mikel Merino deal that got made. So, you know, other names you're looking at is Rosicky. You got mertesacker. If I'm being honest, I don't necessarily think you have to employ someone just because they've been with Arsenal before. I would always want the best in class. And if you're just only going for someone because they have an association with a club, then I don't think personally that's the right way to go. I know we had that with Edu, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way to go going forward. I think you always need to try and get the best in class. And if this Real Sociedad sporting director is the guy, then go out there and get him. I'm sure Mikel Arteta would know this guy. I'm sure Mikel Arteta would maybe have maybe a slight vision in his mind who he would want, because he would be involved in the decision-making process. I have no doubt about that. It's not going to be someone thrown in with Mikel Arteta and he says, you two need to now build a rapport. I would almost guarantee that Mikel Arteta would be a part of the decision-making process. And whether he goes for Rosicky, Mertesacker or this Alabe, I would just say, just go for whoever's the best. That's all you can hope for as an Arsenal fan. You always want the best. And like I said, it doesn't affect things as much as a new manager would, or the players. It's an important cog in the machine that is Arsenal, but it's not the most important part. Of course, you still need someone who's going to operate at a high level. But like I said, it's not the be-all and end-all. It doesn't affect things out on the pitch too much. So I just hope they go for the best. Let me know your thoughts on that. Who would you go for? If it does bother you, let me know in the comment section. And like I said, let me know your thoughts on the left-back and right-back position. Who do you play going forward now that you know Ben White is he's going to be out because he's gone for surgery? Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go, if you could do me a favor very quickly, hit like on this video and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.